Good morning, Karen, again, and it's great to follow up our conversation from the webinar last week, and we really didn't get to the end.
Part of where we left off was just the thought about uncovering opportunities and figuring out, well, how do we, even though it's a different time and a different place and we have to adapt to this, so-called next normal, how do we continue to uncover new opportunities and do our job? Yeah. And then where you and I lead in from there is then how do we manage the tasks of that job? So how do we get this sales team or salespeople right now to do the activities that they have to do anyway? And part of that is, speaking of a different language, doing more research than ever before. Man, the amount of research that we have to do and the understanding of the fact that everybody's going through this time and in this together. We have to modify our scripts. That's something that I recommend doing as we're in this time of adapting and transitioning, but how do we take our sales materials and our marketing materials and modify what we're saying, what we're delivering? How do we give the same sales pitch, but have a little bit more empathy behind our words and have more value and research-based activity in the script itself? This isn't just about, getting something across the finish line. This is about really being empathetic and really understanding what that value proposition is in relation to the research that we've done. So that's where we left off. And then you talked a little bit about going beyond uncovering the opportunities and just preparing, like using this wonderful sales team or salespeople that we have right now, using them wisely, making sure that we help them to grow in their field and in their profession, and tap into them for brainstorming and for setting us up for that tomorrow that we're all anticipating, whether that's in months or, this time next year.
What's the, what do you do if your team isn't quite structured the way it should be? You need to change jobs, you need to change descriptions, you need training. Right. Is this a time to continue forward and do that? Do you continue to invest in the team and make them better at what you think you're going to be doing, even in the short term?
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing is, my goodness, look at us. There are so many webinars. There are so many really good, amazing opportunities to increase your knowledge right now and do that education and that professional development that, man, a year or two ago, we would have paid thousands of dollars for the kinds of education that we can get online right now. So definitely through training, through sitting through series of webinars, through listening to what's happening in the marketplace, our salespeople can learn and educate themselves. There are things like, courses and very inexpensive opportunities to learn about the new tools and the techniques. We talked a little bit about, document sharing and proposal generation tools that can help in a collaborative space online. We talked about these video tools and making sure that we're training and learning how to use them effectively and really being mindful of not letting the tool run the meeting, but using the tool effectively to make an impact in our meetings. So definitely a time for education and professional development, for sure.
What does that lead to in terms of actual comp plans, and if you're reconfiguring roles as a result of, here's where we're going, here's training I need you to take, here's the role I need you to take on for now, and is this a time to think about reconfiguring comp plans? And I think there's two sides to this, Karen. One of them is the issue of, I want you to do this instead of that.
Right.
And it's maybe temporary, but I want you to be a farmer because that's what we have to focus on. I know you're a hunter, vice versa.
Right.
Second part is quotas are going to be hard to hit. The number of people who hit their quotas this year is going to be much smaller than normal, even if there is an uptick in business now.
Right.
So
right.
What do you do to help people, to help sales teams, sales individuals get where they want to go? Do you restructure comp at this point?
Oh, that's a really, really good question, Dave. I know there are a lot of sales managers out there thinking about that. There are a lot of business owners thinking about adjusting comp plans, really to save money. I guess if you're a business owner and you haven't restructured, then this is the time to think about restructuring, and it is the time to keep your best people and think of the function that you need. We talked about that in the previous webinar. But further, I think so many of us as sales leaders are in agreement that this isn't the time necessarily to change the compensation plan in and of itself. I think, from what I'm hearing, and it's sort of universal, it's such a big time of change that I think it's very, very important to keep some things the same, and compensation isn't something you mess around with and you don't take lightly and you don't adjust it on a whim. It's an important part of a salesperson's livelihood and the way they think and the way that they are trained to think. So I don't recommend changing the compensation plan as a whole. However, there are things you can tweak. So some of the things that I would look at tweaking are exactly what you said. If it's really hard to reach those quotas, if you've got certain benchmarks that look like you're not going to attain those for this year, then maybe adjust the thresholds for bonusing, or throw in some additional bonus levels so that the true salespeople can feel like they are still striving and moving toward a goal, and that it's not unrealistic, because there's nothing worse than feeling that, sense of defeat long before you even get to something you are striving for. So yeah, absolutely. Lower the thresholds, add in some additional bonuses, put in some KPIs that are different. If the sales metric can't be attained, the new sales, then put in some different performance metrics. Measure people against the numbers of client calls and bits of feedback they can get, or have some innovative metrics like how many referrals can you get, even if they don't result in a sale. Can we reward for a number of referrals, or can we reward for some innovations that come out of customer feedback? There's lots of different things that you can sort of put value to and credit and reward without adjusting an entire comp plan.
Yeah, I do think that one of the things I heard in the past couple of weeks that really stuck with me on one of those webinars you talked about was somebody said, the people that work with you will remember what you did here. And I think that's really important, that the fact that you were calm and organized, that you had a strategy, that you could explain it, that you wanted to help people and keep people, the dividends that will pay, to put a crass look at it, downstream as people say, yeah, I'd like to stay here and work with you, are enormous when we get to that thrive stage. So
yeah, absolutely. I think that's why I use the term as well, how we can work today in this adapt phase, how we can influence tomorrow. It doesn't mean we can change necessarily a whole bunch of things, and we don't even know what tomorrow is going to look like, but we can influence by those decisions today and by how we take care of both our internal staff and our salespeople that are frontline staff, frontline workers, and our customers. We can influence tomorrow.
Exactly. Well, that's a good place to leave that. As I mentioned to you, I think the other day, this is a format that I really like. I would like to talk about coming back and having a conversation with you maybe midsummer, seeing how this stuff is played out with you and your clients. Because I think you're absolutely right. We can't see what's coming. We can see trends and guesses. We know what the options are. And it'll be interesting to see how different companies, different owners, different businesses choose options, and those become successes or failures. And starting to analyze and look at that's going to be, I think, pretty important. But the good thing, people are making decisions and moving forward. That's the great thing. Yeah,
absolutely. And our ability to influence what happens to our own businesses it's pretty powerful right now if we do the right thing.
It is. All right. Well, thanks for the coffee.
Thank you. Okay, take care. Bye, Dave.
Bye for now.